song, but I just wanted to hear a little bit longer music there. So anyhow, I digress. 877-573-7825, 818. Father, we are just about a week out from the March for Life, but I know that you are going in early. You're going in on Monday, and we talked about this yesterday. By the way, thanks for a great webinar. We had several hundred people that signed on to it, and a ton of information. That was a lot of fun. That hour went by so fast.
Very fast. Yeah, it was a great conversation. We delved into a lot of things. We delved into the practical dimension just of what's happening in this next week, but also some of the more conceptual things behind Roe v. Wade and what's happening with the abortion industry and the pro-life movement and the impact of different things. It was a broad-ranging discussion. But yeah, it's upon us now, all these special events, and it's really a full week of events, and we're starting with a leaders meeting Monday night and Tuesday. We bring the pro-life leaders together regularly, of course, for strategizing and updating, and they get updates from the legislative arena, from the White House, and from each other. And that's taking place Monday night and all day Tuesday. And then a whole series of events commences on Wednesday, the 22nd, which is the actual anniversary of Roe v. Wade. And we're going to have, there's going to be several events right in front of the Supreme Court, various press conferences going on. We'll do a candlelight vigil in the evening starting at 7, and those are some of the things for Wednesday. And people can find all these events on our website, of course, priestforlife.org/march4life. That'll have the specific events that we can talk about here in a little bit more detail.
Father, the secular media, as we all know, don't exactly give this massive coverage, and that's the biggest understatement of the century. But now with the impeachment hearings going on next week, what do you think that's going to look like? And will that have any impact, do you think, on the march itself?
Not on the march itself. It'll simply... what we are going to do is contrast the business that the president is doing for the American people, which includes for the unborn and for the pro-life movement. He's getting things done day by day by day. Today, I got last night, another announcement from the administration about another initiative for our benefit, and it's just constantly actual work getting done that moves the ball down the court for the things we care about. And meanwhile, this impeachment stuff is a big hoax. It's a charade. It's a sham. If people really look at it closely, it is absolutely so absurd what is going on here, and it cheapens the very meaning of impeachment, and it's ridiculous. So I think that contrast will help us. It's up to our side to point the contrast out. Do we want someone who's actually doing the work of the American people, or do we want a party that's just engaged in name calling, essentially?
And getting things done. I was talking with, and you know him very well, a wonderful pro-life African-American pastor who's been on the front lines with you, Father, for many, many years, Pastor Dr. Reverend Childress from New Jersey. He was talking about how African-American voters are waking up to this issue of life, and how the statistics and the numbers are changing in terms of whom and what they're supporting. What do you think of that?
Well, we are seeing and will continue to see this coming week the really increased involvement and organization of the black leaders for pro-life. And that makes a big difference. That includes and inserts a big element into the cause, because they have the experience, the experience as a community of activism and organizing for against injustice, what we saw in the civil rights movement. And there's been a growing awareness, a growing conviction in the black community that the civil rights movement of today is the pro-life movement, and that they are even if they weren't disproportionately the victims of abortion, which they are, it would still be the case that this is a civil rights movement about which they have to stand up and speak for the vulnerable. But they are, and this is a growing awareness, being targeted by the abortion industry and have for a long time, and it was at the core of the philosophy that started Planned Parenthood, and now they're rebelling against that, as they should, and we should with them.
Father, there was a really interesting article by Dr. Kevin Burke. I didn't see it until Janet and I were on the phone last night talking about our preps for next week and doing some updates on the Catholic View for Women in our upcoming taping. We were chatting about the march, and I was talking about the anger out there. And anytime anyone says anything about abortion, if it's a positive thing, they're cheered like crazy. If it's a negative thing, the left goes literally ballistic. I mean, there's such an outrage, and I mean, really almost to the point of being abnormal, where they just seem to be just seething. And I was thinking about this, and I thought, well, mainly it's because of the fact that they feel threatened, because they know that so many pro-life judges have been appointed now at the federal level. They also know that all of this grassroots work that we've been doing since Roe v. Wade is really starting to chip away at abortion rights. But it's more than that. Dr. Kevin Burke, and I'm going to talk about this in more detail in my 2 cent segment coming up, wrote a very powerful piece for Crisis Magazine. He works with you at Priest Your Life in terms of post-abortion issues. He brought up some things that, wow, I mean, really makes you think, especially if you put those images of your mind of what happened when Kavanaugh was confirmed and when they were behind closed doors during the confirmation, he was being sworn in, and the people clawing at the door. This is post-abortion syndrome being revealed to us in so many ways.
Yes, he points out, the article is Aborting a Presidency, and he points out that when we're grieving and in pain and do not honestly face what's going on inside ourselves and process that grief, what we end up doing and can end up doing in a state of mind that is not perceiving things rightly is lash out at others, and part of it is projection. We project onto someone else, in this case the president, faults and vices that we see in ourselves, or dynamics or feelings that we're experiencing in ourselves, or conflicts. We project them onto the other person and then lash out at the other person for those accused actions or vices. And that's a way then of dealing with it without having to admit that it's inside of me, and deal with it at an arm's distance. And the grief, the lashing out, what is this grief about? It is about abortion. I mean, these folks that are leading this impeachment circus have also been leading the Holocaust of abortion. It's the same people. And you can't do that. You can't preside over a Holocaust and then be expected to govern with any kind of rationality. It doesn't work. And so what we're seeing here is there are very profound psychological things going on, where they're lashing out at anger, and it's the irrationality of it. I mean, if the president had actually done something wrong, then you could say, okay, well, there's a rational basis here. But it's completely irrational. So Kevin reflects here that, this is one of the ways that we can look at this, one of the ways that we can make sense out of it.
But Father, if you think about how many abortions there have been, over 61 million since 1973, are we not just a nation of walking wounded in so many ways?
Yes, that's right, including the people there in public office who bear so much of the responsibility for this. They're deeply wounded, I mean, it's a damaging, devastating kind of wound that confuses us in our most basic relationships. It's very deep. So we have to get a handle on this. And people with the insight, psychological insight, like Kevin Burke and his wife Dr. Teresa Burke, like Dr. Philip Ney, psychiatrist who really is an expert on the wounds of abortion. They all talk about public officials. They talk about the celebrities, too. So many of these celebrities are, one of the ways you deal with the pain of an abortion is to seek company in affirming that it was the right decision. So this is what fuels a lot of pro-abortion activism in the celebrity arena included.
So what about what we see at the Women's March? Is that the same thing?
Yes. Well, yes, it is. It's on display and dressed up, and in all its ugliness. Same kind of thing. People need healing. Everybody needs healing, and that'll go a long way to rectifying some of these things.
All right, so Father, in terms of what we need to be doing and thinking about as we are coming up to the anniversary of Roe v. Wade on the 22nd, which is next Wednesday, January 22nd, what should we be doing? How should we be approaching this as Catholics? Even if whether we're going to the march, if we can't get there, how should we be looking at this?
Yeah, I would say three things. Number one, engage in the prayer campaign, and that's at prayercampaign.org. We have a prayer campaign in reparation. That the theme we've emphasized is reparation for Roe v. Wade. Go to prayercampaign.org and participate in that. Secondly, reread Roe and learn more about it. The more you learn about Roe v. Wade as a decision, the more amazing it is. This decision has no constitutional basis. It was written up out of the minds of the justices, and it has no historical basis. It made all kinds of errors. It has no medical basis. It made all kinds of erroneous assumptions and assertions. And the court itself has found it to be unworkable in all their subsequent decisions on abortion. Is all over the map. It's like, well, what did Roe v. Wade do? Did it make abortion a fundamental right? No, it did not. But the other side acts as if it did. They talk as if it did, but it's not a fundamental right. And Roe v. Wade itself has limits on, or I should say, allows limits on the abortion procedure, but that the other side does not want to admit, and they oppose at every step. They oppose the states doing the very things that Roe v. Wade and subsequent court decisions say they can do, and they oppose it on the basis of Roe v. Wade and the Constitution. I mean, it's a completely irrational, erroneous, and illogical position. And then the third thing, so engage in the prayer campaign, learn more about Roe v. Wade, and then third, gear up for the elections, because that, if we want to talk about how to undo all this damage and how to reverse Roe v. Wade, this election of 2020 is crucial in doing that. Because as we discussed on the webinar yesterday, you've got the president that appoints the judges, the Senate that confirms them, and if you don't have the right people appointing the judges and confirming them, you're not going to have the right judges and you're not going to have the right court decisions. It's really as simple as that. And the election gives us a chance to really solidify things in the right direction, and that right direction is the direction we're moving now.
What's scary, though, Father, is that it seems that some will do anything to prevent conservatives from moving forward at all levels, including all the way up to the White House. And I'm just really concerned about some funny business going on. What can we do to make a difference and make sure that the election is carried out according to law and the Constitution?
Well, we have resources we're going to continue putting up every day at prolifevote.com, including interviews and broadcasts with experts, getting involved at the local level. We're going to give, a background on how to do that. That's where if funny business does go on, election tampering or whatnot. I mean, citizens can get involved in poll watching, and citizens getting involved on the very local level is key to that. If good people get involved in that level and really learn the ins and outs of the process, it's really very fascinating, the process that we do have. There are ways to enforce integrity in the process and avoid corruption and avoid lies and manipulations. So get involved and let people know you're getting involved. Let people know the details about the process. And by the way, in relation to all this, for the first time, we're going to have voter registration opportunities more than ever, both at the March for Life and at the Walk for Life West Coast, where I'll be speaking. We're having a voter registration booth right in the middle of the crowd. And we'll be having it at our National Prayer Service on Friday morning. We'll be having voter registration at our exhibit booths at the different conferences during next week. It's going to be great, and that's something that'll help people focus on this.
And one more question. Many people are concerned, as we all are, about, it seems like we're living in a banana republic right now with what's going on with some of this craziness in Washington. Then you have a media that, for the most part, is in sync and just basically taking their marching orders or delivering marching orders. And they're saying to each other, jump, and the other one says, how high?
Mm-hmm.
And accuracy and reality is not expressed. And unfortunately, a majority of people still get their information from the secular media. How do we combat that?
Well, I have my iPhone in my hand here, and another iPhone broadcasting this to all kinds of platforms. Social media is a big part of the answer. The influence is growing. The number of people that the groups on our side of the equation are reaching is growing, and this has to be a strong antidote. I mean, more and more social media is shaping the conversation. This is why the president uses Twitter. He knows what he's doing. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, I don't like his tweets, or he shouldn't tweet as much. Yes, he should. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's controlling the conversation. He's reaching the American people directly, bypassing the very same kind of fake news media that you're referring to now. And it is a battle that has to be engaged. He's showing us how to engage the battle. Get to the people directly and share the truth. Show how lying and fake and manipulative so much of the dominant media is. Show it, because the people they're influencing are also the people that you can reach and influence, and contradict these lies and show the truth. That's one of the only ways that we can do this and really expose, like St. Paul says, expose these works of darkness.
Right. One more point, and I'll let you go. So you have your staff meeting at 8:30, so you're already 5 minutes late anyway. So one more thing. I was doing the news the other day, and they were talking about what's going on with the Pope and the celibacy issue. And our friend Edward Penton from the National Catholic Register was interviewed by NBC over in Rome, and one of the news services that we use for sound bites is an NBC-operated news service, and of course they're very biased, and Andrew and I are always talking about how we have to work so hard to pull out, extrapolate the reasonable stories that they have. And they're interviewing Edward Penton, and what he said, it did not sit right with me. And I said, there's no way he said this about the priesthood or the Pope. So I copied the story, wrote him, and said, Edward, I just want to let you know, he's coming on the show today, as I mentioned. And he wrote me right back. He said, Teresa, I did not say that. I said the exact opposite.
Oh, boy.
So even whenever it is about anything that they think that they can help promote in terms of their liberal agendas, I don't care if it's life, I don't care if it's something in Catholicism, they're going to take an opportunity and try to put it out as reality. It's disgusting.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Ugh, my goodness. All right, well, thank you for allowing me to vent a little bit. Appreciate that, Father, and have a great weekend. We will catch up with you, I hope, before I leave on Wednesday. I leave right after the show on Wednesday, but I will see you Wednesday afternoon, God willing, in Washington. Father Frank Pavone, National Director of Priest or Life, has so many other titles, but we'll leave it at that. For all the details, you can check out their website and Facebook page, priestorlife.org. And don't forget to check out my Facebook page, where there's a link, or will be, probably up by now, to the great webinar that Father did with me yesterday on the theme for the March for Life, Pro-Life is Pro-Woman. And it's great stuff, great information, and a lot of great questions from those who signed on for the event. We'll be right back.